Shocking biblical truth, break free from addiction at midnight. You won't believe this. The church bells tolled midnight, a haunting sound that echoed through the quiet town of Eldridge. They had a legend here, a whispered story told in hushed tones that at this exact hour, something extraordinary happened. It was said that beneath the ancient oak tree in the town square, a portal opened, revealing secrets lost in the shadows, and that people who ventured too close could find either liberation or devastation. Last year, Mary Thompson, a high school teacher known for her unwavering spirit, had succumbed to her addictions. Once a beacon of hope, the town's soul now flickered as low as the streetlights. But that night, as the clock struck 12, she felt something pull her toward the square, like an unseen force dragging her through the damp streets. Her heart raced, a lump forming in her throat as she reached the tree. The air felt charged, alive with energy that tickled her skin and sent chills down her spine. Around her, the restless townsfolk congregated, eyes wide with fear and fascination. They, too, were drawn to the spectacle. The moon hung high, casting an eerie glow over the scene, illuminating the gnarled roots that twisted like fingers clawing at the earth. A low hum vibrated in the air, inviting them closer. Whispers floated around, stoking the fire of tension. Have you heard the stories? People have come back, changed. Eyes darting, they surveyed each other, their own discomfort reflected in nervous glances. Suddenly, Mary stumbled forward, heart hammering against her ribcage. The tree seemed to pulse in time with her anxious breath. Could it be? Was this truly the moment they had all talked about? It's just a tree, someone murmured, but the doubt in their voice was unmistakable. The wind whistled a dissonant tune, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air grew thick as whispers turned into gasps. Mary could see something, a faint glow swirling at the base of the trunk. It's real! She shouted, her voice cracking with disbelief and hope. The crowd surged closer, eyes wide. That was when the ground began to tremble, and a sliver of shimmering light broke through the dirt. People screamed, some backed away, while others moved closer, eyes unblinking. Then, in that moment of divine chaos, Mary caught a figure stepping out of the light, an otherworldly presence cloaked in mystery, dust swirling at their feet. It smiled gently, but the laughter in its eyes sent a jolt through her. What had she gotten herself into? And could this being really help her break free? With adrenaline coursing like fire through her veins, Mary reached out, a desperate plea in her heart. But what if the truth unleashed was more terrifying than she could ever imagine? The figure emerged fully from the light, its features slowly gaining clarity. It was a woman, ethereal and radiant, with a presence that pulsed with an undeniable power. She wore flowing robes that shimmered like the night sky, capturing the essence of the moonlight. As she stood before Mary, the atmosphere shifted, an electric charge pulsating around them. Heartbeats quickened, the townsfolk stood transfixed, a collective breath held in suspense. Mary, the being spoke, her voice smooth yet striking, resonating deep within the souls of all who were present. You have summoned me. You stand at the threshold of choice, healing or despair. But you must confront the truth within you. Mary's knees felt weak as her instincts screamed for her to turn back. Yet, an undeniable urge flowed through her, the need for liberation overpowering her fear. I don't know if I can. What do I have to do? She stammered, struggling to meet the luminescent gaze of this otherworldly figure. The woman smiled, a glow of warmth washing over Mary. You already possess the strength, but your demons linger in the shadows, binding you. You must face them. Only then can you transcend your suffering. The townspeople shifted, murmurs of disbelief trickling through the crowd, laced with fear and curiosity. Was this truly happening? Was Mary, with all her struggles, the chosen one to confront an unknown realm? The ground rumbled again, more violently this time, the air thickened even further as the light from the tree intensified. Dark shapes began to rise from the ground, twisted and eerie, resembling the very fears Mary had lived with. Some townsfolk shrieked, recoiling from the sight, while others could only stare in horror. "Face them," the woman urged, her voice echoing in Mary's mind. "Only by confronting your truth can you break free." With every ounce of willpower, Mary stepped toward the shadowy forms that slithered toward her as the crowd gasped in unison. Ghostly images of her past loomed large around her moments of weakness, despair, and betrayal. She shivered and clenched her fists. Could she really do this? Each shadow whispered accusations, reminding her of how she had failed and faltered. Each one threatened to pull her back into the chains of addiction, but in that moment, Mary recalled the times she fought through pain, the dreams she once held onto. "No!" she cried, her voice bursting with newfound strength. "You do not define me." Slowly, she advanced, thrusting her hands outward. The shadows recoiled, their forms flickering as if unsure how to handle her defiance. Bolstered by an inner flame, she felt the glow of hope ignite within her, a beacon against the encroaching darkness. The ethereal woman observed intently, confidence building in her eyes. "Yes, Mary. Let the light in. Let it break the chains." Just as the shadows seemed to waver and retreat, a thunderous roar erupted behind Mary. The ground shook violently, jagged fissures appearing. A dark force, far more malevolent than the shadows, clawed its way towards them. The crowd screamed, retreating, but Mary stood firm, heart pounding. She glanced back at the woman, eyes wide with urgency. "What is that?" "Your greatest adversary," the being replied, her voice a mix of calm and alarm. "You must choose your path now, fight or falter. The power lies within you, but you must act swiftly." As the dark force reached out for her, tendrils swaying like hungry serpents, Mary felt the weight of her choice upon her. Could she truly stand against the embodiment of despair? And in that moment of peril, she knew one thing for certain: the fight was just beginning. Would she rise and reclaim her life, or would she succumb to the shadows that threatened to engulf her? What would happen next? The answer loomed closer than Mary ever expected. Mary's heart raced as she faced the looming darkness, a tangible embodiment of all her fears. It writhed and twisted, thrumming with a sinister energy that sent chills racing down her spine. Each tendril flicked closer, tangling in the air like venomous vipers ready to strike. "I can't let it take me," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the frantic murmurs of the crowd. The ethereal woman stood firmly beside her, a radiant shield against the encroaching storm. "You're not alone, Mary. Remember your light." Drawing a deep breath, she summoned memories of laughter, love, and hope. She had fought for those moments, hadn't she? The faces of her friends flashed before her: Tony, who had held her hand through the darkest nights, and Sarah, whose bright smile had pulled her from the depths time and time again. They whispered to her now, urging her on. "You're stronger than this." With a fierce determination, Mary stepped forward, the shadows quaking as she approached. The dark force slowed, taken aback by her resolve. "I won't cower anymore," she shouted, her voice piercing through the thick, oppressive air. "I refuse to let you consume me." Her words reverberated, a rallying cry that echoed through the woods, energizing those who surrounded her. The townspeople, gripped by fear only moments ago, began to move closer, emboldened by her courage. "Fight! We believe in you," they called out, their voices intertwining with hers. The shadows recoiled, confusion washing over them. Mary felt the surge of power, an electric current pulsing through her veins, building to a crescendo of light. She outstretched her arms, summoning every ounce of strength and will. "Light, break through the darkness!" she cried, focusing on the glow radiating within her. In response, a blinding light erupted from her core, cascading outward like beams of sunshine splintering the gloom. It illuminated the forest, casting away the shadows and revealing their true forms, fragments of her past, fears laid bare. They wailed in despair, unable to withstand the brilliance of her truth. As the luminescence expanded, the vile tendrils curled back, scorching under its intensity. The crowd gasped, their eyes reflecting the battle unfolding before them. Fear turned to awe as Mary pressed on, her courage shining brighter with each step. "Do you see?" The ethereal woman spoke, her voice trembling with excitement. "You have the power to change your fate, Mary. Embrace it. But even as hope illuminated the clearing, a dark anger rose from the depths. The shadows began to morph, rallying together in defiance of the light. The heart of the dark force coiled, a swirling mass of fury ready to strike back. "I will not fall," Mary yelled, gathering her strength. She felt the warmth of the townsfolk behind her, their faith binding her spirit. In that moment, she realized the truth: the darkness thrived on isolation, on despair. Together, they could shatter its grip. But suddenly, a surge of energy erupted from the crowd, dozens of hands uplifting toward her. The collective hope merged with her light. The shadows writhed and lunged, but Mary stood resolutely, unyielding against the tide. The darkness launched forward, a desperate push, but the light shot forth in a blinding wave. It surged like a tsunami, crashing against the dark force and shattering it into harmless wisps, and then, an eerie silence fell. Mary's heart thudded in her chest as she stood amidst the fading remnants of what had tried to entrap her. Faces of the townsfolk reflected a mixture of relief and uncertainty. What had they just witnessed? Yet, even as victory settled heavy in the air, she felt a tremor beneath her feet, an unsettling awareness that the darkness was not truly vanquished. It had merely retreated, waiting silently for another chance to pounce, lurking in the edges of the unknown. "Mary," whispered the ethereal woman, her voice low and deliberate, "the battle may be won, but the war is far from over. There are more shadows lurking within you." The woman stepped closer, her gaze penetrating. "Are you willing to uncover them? You have taken the first step, but the journey is just beginning." Eager yet terrified, Mary could feel the weight of what lay ahead. The shadows were far from gone, and the truth they protected could shatter everything she thought she understood. Could she face her inner demons, or would they haunt her forever? The choice awaited, looming like a storm on the horizon. Mary stood at the edge of the clearing, breath hitching in her throat. The aftermath of the battle hung thick in the air, a pungent mix of burnt earth and lingering fear. She could still feel the shadows teasing her senses, whispering secrets that chilled her to the bone. For a moment, she felt victorious, but doubt clawed at the corners of her mind. "What now?" a voice croaked from the crowd. It was a man, his face pale and drawn. "Did we really win?" Mary turned to face them, their eyes searching her for answers. Their hope rested on her shoulders, heavy and weighty like a chain. She wanted to assure them, to tell them the shadows were banished forever, but her heart sank at the realization that the struggle was far from over. "We stand together," she said instead, her voice firmer than she felt. "But we must remain vigilant. The darkness may return." The crowd stirred uneasily. Mary glanced back at the ethereal woman, who nodded slightly, her expression urgent. "You have to delve deeper, Mary. Your power alone will not be enough to confront what lies ahead. You need to understand your fears, the roots of your darkness, before it can destroy you." Mary felt a knot form in her stomach. What did that even mean? Could she truly uncover the shadows hidden within her? "Mary!" She jerked her head around, the voice echoing across the clearing. It was Tony, his brows furrowed, worry etched across his face. "We want to help you. Just tell us what you need." Together, Sarah chimed in, stepping up beside Tony, courage twinkling in her eyes. "We're with you, every step of the way." They reached for her hands, the warmth grounding her, pulling her back from the edge of despair. Together, she whispered, feeling fortified by their unwavering support, but the ethereal woman's expression darkened. "Unity is powerful, but you must also confront your own fears. Each of you has your own shadows to face, and you cannot shield them from one another. You must journey within, and share what you find." Mary shivered, horror crawling up her spine. "But, what if it's too much?" "Then face it together," the woman insisted, intensity radiating from her gaze. "Strength lies in vulnerability." The crowd murmured, uncertainty rippling through their ranks. They had felt the darkness, tasted its salt on their lips. Was this truly the path to freedom? "Do it!" A voice suddenly boomed, an older woman from the back. Her presence hit like a storm wave, and silence enveloped the clearing. "You and your friends are stronger than any shadow. Don't let fear dictate your paths." Mary could feel their collective hope swelling again, an ocean of conviction that was hard to resist. One by one, the townsfolk began stepping forward, speaking of their fears, unhealed wounds, lost loved ones, shattered dreams, and as they shared, Mary felt the weight of their burdens merging with her OW&I. In that moment, she understood, they were the light, and so was she. Each admission stripped away layers of dread, exposing raw connections that would bind them tighter than any darkness. Let us go deeper, Mary spoke, adrenaline thrumming through her. Let us face this together. The crowd held their breath, anticipation almost tangible in the crisp night air. As the group joined hands, a pulse of energy surged through them. Mary felt warmth envelop her, thick as honey, sweet as the summer sun. The forest transformed around them, shadows morphing as if responding to their unity. A warm glow began to pulse at the center of their circle, growing brighter, more alive. But beneath it, a dark swirl still lurked, ready to pounce at the slightest hint of weakness. Hold tight. The ethereal woman yelled, cutting through the tension. The journey within can unleash unseen horrors. Prepare yourselves. The light flickered, and the shadows shrieked as if alerted to the gathering energy. Mary tightened her grip on her friends, heart pounding in synchrony with the emerging chaos. What monsters awaited beneath the surface? Could they endure the reckoning of their fears, or would the darkness claim them once more? Together, Mary and her friends prepared to face what they feared the most, the unknown stretching before them like a yawning chasm. Would they emerge whole, or would the shadows reign again? The answer was just out of reach. The pulsing glow intensified, spilling light into the darkness that swirled around them like a tempest. Mary felt the weight of anticipation and dread hang over her, a thick cloud of uncertainty pressing down. The shadows writhed, hungry and restless, as if eager to consume whatever light escaped the circle. Focus, everyone. Mary urged, her voice slicing through the chaos. We need to stand strong. But even as she spoke, doubt clawed at the back of her mind. Would the power they conjured be enough? Would the darkness laugh at their bravery? As if responding to her thoughts, a low growl rippled through the shadows. Waves of terror surged, splintering the warmth that encapsulated them. Don't lose it! Tony shouted, eyes wide with panic. We can't let it break us. Mary locked eyes with him, drawing strength from his urgency. No matter what comes, we face it together. Promise me. I promise. He said, gripping her hand tighter. One by one, she looked around, searching the faces of her friends and the townsfolk. Each resolve met her gaze like flickering candles against a storm. There was determination, there was fear, but there was also something more. Unity. As whispers began to rise from within the group, Mary felt exhilaration fuse with anxiety. The ethereal woman's earlier words echoed in her mind, strength lies in vulnerability. What are you afraid of? She called out, urging them to uncover their hidden shadows. Let it out. Share your fears. The first voice came trembling, a young man stepping forward. I fear failure. I lost everything, my job, my family, because of my mistakes. The collective breath of the crowd hitched, a current of empathy swelling. Another voice joined, a woman in the back. I fear being alone. I've lost so many. What if they leave me, too? Each confession unraveled another thread of darkness, as the group slowly bared their souls. Secrets tangled in the air, shaping the very fabric of their reality. From the talons of despair, light began to sparkle, illuminating their fierce vulnerabilities. Mary could feel it. The darkness recoiled at their bravery, tendrils of shadow fraying as their stories intertwined like roots, feeding the very soil of their unity. But then, an eerie hush fell, the darkness stilling as a shape emerged from the depths. It coiled around the swirling light, a figure wrapped in a haze of gray, a twisted reflection of their deepest fears. Look at you, it sneered, a voice like nails scraping on glass. You think you can conquer me? You are nothing but lost souls, desperately clutching at hope. This light will not save you. Mary's heart raced. The skeletal figure pulsed with raw malevolence, drawing strength from each fear they had shared. It was feeding off their vulnerability, growing stronger with every second. Stay together. Mary shouted, the resolve in her voice bubbling over, desperate to rally them. Our stories bind us. Focus on what we've shared, our light is stronger than any darkness. The energy around them flickered, vulnerable to the intimidating form. Cold dread washed over Mary, but she fought it back with every ounce of strength. You can't take us. We won't let you. Can't you see, the shadow taunted, inching closer, your past will forever haunt you. But in that moment, embers of defiance sparked within Mary, igniting her courage. No. Those are just ghosts. We choose to let them go. Together. As their hands intertwined tighter, a wave of warmth erupted, cascading over them. The light surged, brilliant and fierce, a tempest of emotion and strength. The darkness howled, disoriented by their sharing. Yet still, it loomed, threatening to choke the light as it fought to reclaim the fears it had devoured. Push harder. Sarah yelled, fire igniting in her eyes. We can do this. Hold the light. Tony echoed, determination weaving through the vibrancy forming between them. Mary felt the surge of their collective spirit swelling against the shadow's oppressive grip. Just as the dark figure lunged, a blinding burst of energy exploded, illuminating the entire clearing in a brilliant flash. As the light enveloped them, Mary gasped, the ground shaking beneath their feet. What would they find in this blinding brilliance? Would their confrontation with the darkness yield liberation or enslavement? They were on the cusp of revelation, a new form of reckoning hovering just beyond the radiant glow. The brilliance of the light enveloped them, shoving back the shadows with relentless vigor. Mary's heart thundered in her chest as she felt the ground tremble beneath her, a pulse in harmony with the energy surging around them. It was exhilarating, and yet, a part of her feared the impending clash. Don't close your eyes. Tony yelled, his voice breaking through the euphoric haze. We have to stay focused. With a Herculean effort, they all concentrated on the warmth of their combined spirits. The darkness writhed just beyond the halo of light, screaming in fury, claws extending and retracting like a beast in pain. But as the darkness shrieked, a realization hit Mary. It was not merely a creature, but the manifestation of their fears, growing grotesque as they lost sight of their strength. Keep talking. She urged the group. Don't let it silence you. I'm ashamed, a voice cried out, desperation laced with a raw edge. It was Alex, struggling to step forward. I've let fear dictate my choices. I can't break free. Each word that unfolded was like a bolt of electricity, slicing through the dark. Alex's confession electrified their unity, drawing strength from the very vulnerability the shadow sought to exploit. Mary felt an overwhelming urge to share her own burden. I'm terrified that I'm not enough. I'm scared of failing you all. As her confession floated into the ether, the ground vibrated once more, the energy in the clearing swirling faster. The darkness screeched, hissing like a serpent coiling tighter, and for a moment, it felt as if the very air around them crackled with electricity and rage. The voice of the shadow cut through the din, a more furious growl. You think your stories matter? You think they hold weight against the abyss? You are merely playing at bravery. Then, startling silence encircled them like a tightening noose, the shadows clinging to the edges of the light with a sickening persistence. An icy chill swept through their circle. Mary looked around, and she could see fear fluttering across their faces. Doubt was creeping in again, vicious and insidious. Don't listen. Sarah shouted, each syllable exploding with defiance. We are strong. You can't hold us back. In that moment, something changed. Mary felt the warmth flaring brighter, a response to Sarah's fierce declaration. One by one, everyone added their voices, fears, hopes, and dreams blending into a cacophony, and with each proclamation, the light fought back. Suddenly, the shadow lunged, tendrils reaching out with horrifying speed. It wrapped around Alex, yanking him close, pulling him towards the void. Gasps erupted from the group as they watched helplessly. No! Mary screamed, her hand instinctively reaching for Alex. Hold on! Tony yelled, rushing towards Alex, gripping his arm. But as he pulled, the darkness tightened its hold. Alex's eyes were wide, panic-stricken. Let me go! I can't! He fought for breath, and the fight radiated through Mary's chest in a tangible panic. At that crucial moment, amidst the horror, Mary's courage flickered again. We can't let it take him. We're stronger together. Everyone, grab on. With a collective surge, hands reached out grabbing, pulling, anchoring. The group formed a chain, their energy intensifying, a wave amplified by each connected heartbeat. Mary's shout rose above the fray. "We choose unity, not fear. Fight back!" The light erupted in flames of brilliance, overcoming the darkness as if drawn forth by their collective will. The shadowy form writhed violently, howling from the impact of their declaration. Then, in a breathtaking instant of clarity, Mary felt something shift. They were on the verge of breaking through, and deep within her, she truly believed they could overcome. But before she could voice her hope, the ground split beneath their feet, a chasm opening like a terrifying maw. "Hold on!" Tony screamed as they teetered on the edge. What lay on the other side, the heart of darkness or their salvation? The answer hung, tantalizingly out of reach, as they clung to one another, trembling in fear and determination. Could they really tip the balance, or had they unwittingly stepped into a trap that would seal their fates? The chasm beneath them widened, a gaping wound in the earth that threatened to swallow everyone whole. Mary's breath hitched in her throat, and she felt the tremors of fear ripple through her friends. Their grip tightened as panic painted their faces. "Stay together. Don't let go." Tony rallied, but even his confidence shook slightly, shattering the facade of certainty. The shadow roared again, a sound so primal and filled with rage that it seemed to stem from the depths of hell itself. It surged, a dark tide crashing against their light, desperately trying to break their unity. The ground beneath them quaked, pulling them toward the abyss as if it were a magnetic void. "Alex! Hold on!" Mary shouted, looking into his terrified eyes. She could see the doubt creeping into him, threatening to erase their bond. "You're not alone. We're right here." Alex's fingers slipped slightly. I can't do this," he gasped, his face a mask of panic and despair. The darkness tightened its grip, dragging him even closer to the edge. "Don't give in," Sarah screamed, her voice cutting through the din. "You belong here, with us. Fight it." With a surge of adrenaline, Mary channeled all her energy into her voice, projecting her strength toward Alex. "You have the power. Remember why you fought. Don't let it win." In a moment of clarity, Alex met her unwavering gaze. Hope flickered like a candle in the wind, but it was there. I can do this," he breathed, drawing on the collective energy of his friends. The group intensified their focus, each heart pounding like a war drum, creating an unstoppable rhythm of determination. They roared their intentions into the night, a chant of victory that resonated through the gloom. Each voice merged into a powerful force, a promise that could outshine the void. The shadow howled again, this time more fearful than furious. It recoiled as the brilliant light surged forward, pushing against the dark tendrils that seemed to writhe in agony. Mary felt the ground stabilize, the terrifying pull of the chasm starting to fade. But just as victory seemed within reach, a deafening roar erupted from the chasm itself, and the shadow shifted violently, twisting and spiraling like a hurricane. The very fabric of reality seemed to tremble, the world spinning. Mary felt the connection weaken, hands beginning to loosen. "No! Hold on!" she cried. But it was too late. The air thickened with darkness as tendrils snaked around their ankles, pulling with a force neither could resist. With a collective shout, they were dragged toward the edge, the scream of the abyss mocking their efforts. "Fight!" Mary screamed, her voice slicing through the chaos, calling each person to dig deep within themselves. "Remember why we're here." In a frenzied moment, they all seemed to connect, like strings pulled taut before snapping back in unison. Energy erupted as they pushed against the dark clawing at them, a beacon of their shared will. But as they reached for the light, an explosion of dark energy crashed upon them. A blinding flash exploded around them, and in that deafening moment, everything went black. Suddenly, Mary found herself standing alone in a shadowy landscape that felt utterly foreign. Confusion washed over her, a stark contrast to the warmth of their collective light. Where was everyone? Mary, a whisper echoed, familiar yet distorted, clawing its way into her consciousness. She whirled around, searching for the source. The shadows danced, taking on spectral forms as her heart raced. Alex? Tony? Sarah? Silence met her cries, the eerie void swallowing her words. Was this a nightmare? Or had she stepped into a deeper darkness? Just then, a chilling realization clawed its way to the surface. If they had made it out, what price had they paid? The shadows began to converge, creeping closer, and a sinister laugh echoed through the darkness. Welcome to the heart of fear, Mary. Here, you will know your true self. As dread surged within her, Mary stood rooted in shock, uncertain of what was real and what awaited her next. Could she reclaim her friends from this realm of shadows, or had they truly vanished into despair? Mary's heart raced as the laughter echoed around her. It was almost intimate, wrapping around her like a suffocating fog. The shadows shifted, morphing into twisting faces, mirrors of her deepest fears. Each apparition bore familiar features but was off somehow, warped by the darkness that surrounded them. Mary, the shadowy figures spoke, their voices layered with mockery. You think you can defeat us? You brought this upon yourself. She clenched her fists, fighting against the growing void in her chest. Was this guilt? Regret? The darkness was feeding on her emotional turmoil, every heartbeat a reminder of her vulnerabilities. No! She shouted, her voice desperate but tinged with defiance. You can't have me! Suddenly, the ground trembled, a shuddering echo of the chasm they had just escaped. She stumbled, nearly falling as the shadows writhed against the physical world. They were alive, hungry, desperate to sink their claws deeper into her psyche. Remember why you're here. Those words reverberated in her mind, the collective chant of her friends, their unwavering belief in her. She ground her teeth, gathering her resolve. I won't be broken. With an abrupt surge of energy, she tore through the gathering darkness, pushing back against the figures that swirled before her. Fury ignited a flame inside, and she allowed the warmth of her friends to guide her. Alex! Tony! Sarah! She shouted their names, praying the sound would resonate through the oppressive gloom. If they were lost, then she would find them. As if responding to her call, the shadow shifted. Faint glowing threads of light flickered just beyond her reach, like fireflies in the night. Hope surged in her chest. I'm coming! She declared and darted toward the glimmers. The shadows howled in protest, their piercing cries slicing through the air, but Mary pressed on, fueled by adrenaline and determination. Each thread pulled tight with energy, weaving a pathway tracing the silhouettes of her friends. Stay strong. Stay together. She roared into the darkness, her voice rising above the cacophony. Her courage sent ripples through the void. We'll find a way out. As she moved, the world around her began to shift. The shadows flickered and faltered, revealing brief glimpses of the chasm, the dark fangs of the abyss that threatened to devour everything. Images of Alex, Tony, and Sarah flashed in her mind. Their faces twisted in fear brought her gut-wrenching anguish. What if she was too late? A weighty silence hung in the air, only to be broken by her ragged breaths. Spurred on by desperation, she launched toward the light, tears streaming down her cheeks. Each fleeting image tightened the grip of determination within her heart. Suddenly, she came to a halt, taken aback by an intense presence. Before her loomed a massive figure composed of shadow, a monstrous image echoing the fears she felt deep inside, but also familiar. Mary, it crooned, its voice like silk over stone. Do you not see? You are but a pawn in this game. Fear is your master. The words hung heavy in the air, twisting daggers in her resolve. Could it be true? No! She shouted. I am not a pawn. I choose my path. With every ounce of strength, she plunged her hands into the light, feeling it burn against the shadows that threatened to suffocate her. The warmth spread rapidly through her, igniting a radiant glow that galvanized her spirit, but just as the dark figure recoiled, a new shadow emerged, darker, even more sinister. It stood between her and the path ahead, a master of the shadows. Not so fast, Mary. You cannot escape your truth, it hissed, a twisted smile crossing its features. In that moment, a cold dread washed over her. Could she truly break free? Or was this just the beginning of a far more dangerous battle? Mary's eyes widened as the shadows pulsated. The war within has only begun, and she was right in the heart of it, staring down the monstrous embodiment of her fears. Would she prevail in this fight, or would the darkness consume her for good? The chilling silence screamed for an answer, leaving her breathless and teetering on the edge of oblivion. The air thickened, swirling around Mary like a tempest. Every breath felt like a battle, every heartbeat echoed like a warning. The looming shadow sneered with anticipation, reveling in her fear. You cannot run from me, Mary. I am every doubt and every failure you've ever known. With her heart pounding fiercely in her chest, an image of her friends flashed in her mind: Alex's laughter, Tony's unwavering cheer, Sarah's warmth. Realizing it was their belief in her that brought her this far gave her a flicker of confidence. She took a step closer to the darkness, her voice steady. You don't define me. As if struck by lightning, a surge of energy shot through her. The light enveloping her flared brighter, illuminating the dark corners of her mind where terror resided. She focused on the warmth, recalling every moment they shared. Memories clashed against the darkness, threatening to drown it out. With renewed resolve, she thrust her hands out. You think you own me? Think again. The shadow uncoiled, recoiling like a snake. You know better than to invoke power you do not understand, it hissed, eyes narrowing. The darkness cracked, revealing jagged edges of the void behind it while Mary's heart sang with defiance. Then let us understand. She yelled, charging forward. She felt the pulse of energy grow stronger, igniting her spirit like a wildfire. The shadows writhed around her, but they couldn't touch her. The light was hers to wield. Yet as she dashed ahead, she faltered. The deeper she pushed, the more the shadows retaliated, enveloping her in icy tendrils. Mary, you can't escape what lies within. They taunted. The cold seeped into her bones, trying to numb her resolve. Thoughts of her failures clawed at her. What if she wasn't enough? What if this was just a cruel game played by the universe? Doubt seethed like poison, and for a moment, Mary faltered, her confidence quaking, but then she heard a faint whisper of laughter. It was Alex, somewhere out there, doing what he always did, reminding her of the good. She could feel Sarah's warmth, that signature glow that filled the emptiness around her. Tony's voice rang clear as a bell, rooting her on, promising her she was never alone. No! Mary screamed, shaking herself out of the darkness. You won't take me. I've come too far. The shadows shrieked, their laughter morphing into tortured cries. Blinded by her growing power, Mary drew upon every ounce of light she could muster. She thrust her hands forward, desperate for a confrontation, desperate to reclaim her path. The air crackled as the energy swirled around her, battling ferociously with the darkness. With a fierce determination, she pushed through the heavy dread. Both forces clashed, and Mary felt her spirit swell, igniting the cavern around her. But just as she thought victory was hers, a piercing darkness coiled behind. You think this is over? The master shadow taunted, its voice slithering into her mind. Your friends are lost. They're fading into the abyss as we speak. Mary froze, her heart plummeting. Panic clawed at her throat, but amidst the rising fear, a flicker of rebellion ignited. She couldn't go back. Not without knowing the truth. No matter what, I will find them. Together we are stronger. With one final push, the force of her spirit erupted, a tempest of light so bright it shattered the shadows momentarily. But as her vision cleared, she found herself suspended in a new, haunting realm, a dark void that felt even more isolating than before. Welcome to the end, Mary. As that chilling voice echoed around her, she realized she might have entered a fight far beyond her understanding. The truth faded in the distance, and fear brought her to the precipice of despair. Would she stand firm against the darkest truths? Or would this be the end of her search? The void swallowed her doubts, leaving only the unsettling silence, resonating with her unanswered questions. The silence hummed around Mary, a taut string ready to snap. Shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, twisting reminders of her doubts and failures. Every heartbeat was a whisper urging her to succumb, yet a fire ignited within her, a defiance fueled by love and memory. Alex! Tony! Sarah, she shouted, the echoes of her friends' names lending strength to her voice. It carried through the void like a lifeline, each syllable striking against the dark. We are not lost. We are together. As if awakened by her call, fleeting silhouettes formed around her, vivid flashes of laughter and shared dreams, every moment she cherished. Their faces, etched with courage, began to illuminate the shadows creeping closer. She felt their presence rallying her, pulling her from the brink of despair. "I won't let them fade," she vowed, heart pounding like thunder. "I refuse to believe you." The dark mass convulsed, furious at her resilience. "What is your light compared to the weight of your regrets?" It sneered, its voice dripped with poison. "You are nothing, just a flicker, bound to extinguish." A cold chill crept over her, the darkness slithering around her heart, seeking to crush her spirit. But then she remembered the sound of Alex's laughter, the warmth of Tony's support, and Sarah holding her steady on unforgiving days. "You're wrong," she shouted back. "My light is built on love, on all of us. I am not alone." With renewed energy, she thrust her arms outward, channeling everything she had, creating an orb of radiance that pulsed against the shadows. "Together!" she cried, feeling the swell of power respond to her will. The shadow shrieked, recoiling from her light as it shattered the fabric of despair. Tendrils of darkness clawed at her, but she pressed on. "You are not my truth." Just then, swirling winds seemed to gather around her, drawing in the remnants of her friends. Their faces materialized in the depths of the dark mass, vacant yet pleading. But Mary could feel their spirits, feel them fighting to rise above. "We're with you," came a faint echo of their voices, filled with determination. "We're stronger together." Suddenly, Mary saw their strength was amplified, their shared pain transforming into a collective shield against the darkness. She embraced their energies, merging every shard of light and hope gathered from their memories. The void trembled, the master's shadow visibly shaken. "No!" it shrieked, a furious gale winding through the void. "You cannot overcome what you are. You will always return to darkness. Then we'll just keep coming back." Mary shouted defiantly, each word a hammer striking the anvil of her resolve. The shadows writhed violently, desperate to reclaim their grip, but she surged forth, an unstoppable force of light and purpose. In that moment, a brilliant flash erupted, engulfing the clearing. Mary felt the world shift around her, an exhilarating rush she had never experienced. She was flying through a spectrum of colors, feeling each crackle of energy wash over her like waves, pushing her toward something beyond comprehension. As she emerged on the other side, the landscape transformed. A luminous glade unfolded around her, the remnants of shadows dissipating into the night. Mary gasped, the weight of the darkness lifted, but not without feeling its remnants hanging in the air like a faint whisper. Then she turned. Alex, Tony, Sarah, they stood nearby, wearied but alive, faces flushed with relief and gratitude. The shadows had retreated, but uncertainty still loomed over them. "Mary!" they called, rushing to her, their warmth like a balm to her shaken soul. "You did it! We're together!" They clung to each other tightly, trembling with the aftershock of the confrontation. "But it's not over, is it?" Mary murmured, her heart still pounding, a sense of fragility lingering within her. "No." Tony stepped back, his eyes clear yet serious. "This is just a new beginning. We've faced shadows, but we'll have to keep confronting them. In ourselves, in our lives, and together." Mary nodded, hope glimmering in her chest. Nothing was guaranteed. But with love, they could forge their way through anything. "We'll stay vigilant. We'll speak our truths together." In that tranquil moment beneath the star-studded sky, they whispered secrets, fears and hopes intertwined, guiding each other toward their shared dawn. As the ancient oak tree stood tall in the backdrop, a reminder of struggles past, Mary felt a warmth growing within. Hope burgeoned, as they stepped forward into the new journey of healing and vulnerability. The shadows would come again, but united, they would always summon the light. "Let us go," Mary said softly, a smile breaking through. They turned away from the past and walked forward together, into the future, a tapestry woven with resilience and love, ready to conquer whatever lay ahead. Don't let this moment fade. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to help us feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions. The journey doesn't end here. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is everything to us.